Today's project started off as one large piece that turned into a beautiful wedding bowl, plus 3 additional blanks that we're going to be working on today.
Grandpa Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. Doesn't matter if my beard is gray. Just listen, I have something to say.
Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. And this old goat has something to say. So just keep learning, for Grandpa Dennis is turning.
I'm Dennis Pravensky, and welcome to Grandpa Dennis's Woodturning Studio. All right, these are the 3 cores that came out of the wedding bowl. The tiny little piece from the center, the next one, and then the one after that. This particular piece, the center got pulled out when it got cored. So it chipped out and had a significant hole in there. As a result, I ended up getting one of these from the dollar store, just a plastic little bowl. I filled the bowl with resin and put the blank on top. This is the result. Now I have a solid resin bottom, and the resin came up through the holes that were in the bottom of this bowl. Now when I turn it out, there should be just a little bit of resin in there that'll match the rest of the resin that's on the bowls. So, how do I turn these 3 blanks into a set of nesting bowls? This one's quite thick. This one is a solid little piece, and this is relatively thin. So the design on this, because it is thin, has to be very subtle. That is going to have to translate to the design on this bowl, which translates to the design on that one. Well, let's figure out how to do that. I'm going to be showing 3 different methods to turn these bowls. The first one is with a jam chuck. I'm using my red vacuum chuck as a support and pushing the tailstock against the bottom of the bowl to create friction. Now I'm turning the bowl, the bottom out, so that I could get it more even and centered more. Now I'm cutting a deep groove in the bottom of the bowl. The resin was too large, so I'm cutting it back, and this is where I'll pare off the bottom of the bowl. With the size of the bottom cut down, I now square up the bottom so that it's parallel to the top lip of the bowl. This takes a lot of readjusting where the bowl is between the jam chucks so that I can get the lip and the bottom parallel with each other. I want to make the bottom as flat as possible. I'm now sanding out the center of that bottom, the part that I couldn't reach with my turning tools. Now that this is flattened out, I can put a glue block on that. It'll be attached to a faceplate, which will screw on to the headstock of the lathe. And then I can turn this properly and get this shape the way I want it. This is fairly even with that. And it's going to be, hopefully, if I can do it on this circle, it'll be centered properly so I won't waste as much of the wall thickness. So, that's the next step. I've got the 2-hour epoxy coating the bottom of the bowl. Now I'm trying to center it so that it runs nice and smooth on the lathe. That can become tricky, and it is time-consuming. Now for that to dry overnight. Then I can work on this bowl. Now for the second method. I'm needing to turn this base down so that I could put a glue block on here. A few videos ago, I tried this process with the coal jaws, and that's where the bowl went flying. Not that it was my fault. There was actually a spacecraft that came down from, the bowl just took off by itself. It just did it all by itself. It's not my fault that that happened. This time I'm going to pull a tailstock up to the bottom of the bowl to hold it in place. It had better not fly off like the other one did. I've determined what I want for a diameter of the base of this bowl, and I've trimmed it off. Now with this nub remaining, I'm going to cut it off with a saw. With the bowl still attached to the coal jaws, I'm sanding the bottom off to get it as flat as I possibly can in preparation for the glue block. This is 1 to 2 hour epoxy. I've mixed equal parts. This is an adapter you can get from One Way. It fits onto the 3/4 inch threads on the live center, and the other side are the threads that fit my lathe. So this is the faceplate. When I put the glue on here and put it against there, that will center it perfectly on the bowl. This is an easier and more accurate way to center the bowl onto the faceplate. This only works if the rim of the bowl is flat. Any of the natural edged bowls need a different process. Now for the final way of turning bowls. It's again between centers, and I'm flattening off the bottom as best I can so that the tailstock has a good place to sit. I will be turning a tendon on the bottom of the bowl, and that's what I'll be putting into my chuck. The outside of the small bowl can now be turned to the shape I want and then sanded to the 1500 grit level. At the higher grits, I use an air gun between grits to blow off any of the dust so it doesn't clog up the higher grit paper. In addition, as you see, I use a piece of denim to clean off the residue from the sanding process, and it helps to extend the life of the sandpaper. After constant measuring to ensure wall thickness and that I don't go through the bottom of the bowl, I will sand it again to a high grit using a 1-inch sanding mandrel. I got that mandrel from Woodturner's Wonders. My buffing pads wouldn't fit in the small bowl, so I use this compound, which is a buffing compound, on just a plain rag. And it does about the same job. As I'm truing up the sides of the larger bowl, I do catch the chisel on the glue block. That resulted in a kickback of the tool, and somehow it hit my finger and created a fair amount of damage. I was lucky that this didn't cause even more damage to my finger. However, it always helps to have a 4-year-old grandson around to pamper me with all his toys and stuffed animals. Now it's back to the lathe and turning again. As I was shaping the outside of this bowl, I noticed that there were some voids, a few little cracks, and that was from the resin not penetrating completely and from the wood having some cracks as well. I repaired those with a UV resin. The resin cures with a UV light almost instantly, within seconds. Designer Epoxy sells both the UV resin and the UV light. It does come in handy because you can quickly get on with your project. My process for finishing involves sanding to 1500 to 2000 grit. Then I take alcohol to wipe off all of the excess dust, and then a buffing compound on my buffing wheels, and again alcohol to take off the excess from that. Then I put my finish on. My finish is 3 parts. 1/3 pure tung oil, 1/3 boiled linseed oil, and 1/3 polyurethane. That's liberally put on, then the excess is cleaned off and it's left overnight to dry. After that, the process is repeated several times until I get the finish that I desire. Now I'm working on the shape of the outside of the middle bowl and being very careful that I don't catch the glue block and end up with another finger damaged or something even worse. My lathe has a 5 horsepower motor, so it doesn't stall out when you make a catch. That's an advantage, but it could also cause more danger. I use a large scraper for the final passes on the inside of the bowl. That evens out any imperfections during the hollowing process. Now I have to remove the bowl from the waste block, and I do that with a chisel that makes a groove in there. Then I follow it up with a saw to cut off the rest. To finish off the bottom of the bowl, I reverse it onto a vacuum chuck, which holds it in place while I work on the bottom. I'd like to take this opportunity, as you're watching me finish the bottom of the bowl, that you can subscribe to this channel and hit the bell, which will give you notice whenever I post new videos. I've also posted 12 videos to date, and you can go to my YouTube channel, Grandpa Dennis Woodturning, to review them all. Here's the completed set. Nice tiny little bowl, a medium bowl, and a slightly larger bowl. That makes a nice set. Now I got something to say. I'm happy the way these turned out, and I'm also happy that I didn't get seriously injured. Wood turning can be a very dangerous occupation, but there are many, many videos on safety on YouTube, and I recommend that you go and study them all. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and hit the bell, because that gives you advance notice that my video is posted. All comments are welcome. And go to my YouTube channel, Grandpa Dennis Woodturning, to see the other 12 videos that I've already done. Till the next time. This nesting set is for sale. Email me at grandpadennis9@gmail.com. That's grandpadennis9@gmail.com.
Grandpa Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. Doesn't matter if my beard is gray. Just listen, I have something to say.
Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. And this old goat has something to say. So just keep learning, for Grandpa Dennis is turning.